everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast. I am your regular host, Latara, back today with our very own legal eagle, Karen. Welcome back, Karen. How are you doing?
Thank you. It's great to be back. I'm doing good.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. We're glad to have you back. Very excited because we had some very heated, as you know, very heated legal arguments, and none of us were equipped to have those conversations, really. And we're just like furiously Googling to try and make our own points. And so
I think you did. You guys did great.
We tried to use our common sense, what makes sense, I feel like, but yeah, it is what it is. So I'm happy you're here, especially now that, oh my gosh, especially this week with Theresa going for her sentencing the day after her bail hearing.
Yeah.
That
is a bit of a problem.
A bit. Just a little bit. Ridiculous. So we're going to jump in momentarily, but first I got to give a big shout out to all the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you. Well, Lord, my page isn't coming up. All right. Thank you to Munashe, Brelyn, Lisa, Sid, Sarana, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Samantha, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, Greg Lopez Fitzgerald, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Justin, Paige, Casey, Garrinch, Tom Bergeron, Pablo, Daisy, Shane, Kelly, Taylor Harris Crane, and our latest and newest patron, DJ. Thank you all so much for being patrons. Again, I always do this show for you and we have a good time. We have a watch party coming up, which by the time this airs it'll be like 3 weeks from now. By the time we will have done it, we're gonna get on a watch party tomorrow and I'm looking forward to that a lot. So if you're not a patron, go on over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And if you sign up for the highest tier, you can come on the show if you want to. I'm just saying, if you find yourself arguing with me and you really want to argue with me for real, sign up for the Patreon and you will have the opportunity to state your case. All right. Or if you just want to get on the show and agree with me, I always love that too. All right. So whatever floats your boat, I'm into it. So with that said, it is time to go on with this show. We are talking episodes, 736 through 740 this week. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeesh. We're rolling right along in this show. Like we are a ways from 1,000, but we're closer to 1,000 than we are to 1, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're closer to 1,000 than we are to like 400. Right. Mm-hmm. So we're almost to about halfway in the show. Kind of. We're getting there. Kind of getting there.
Coming up.
I'm trying to like make it seem like we've gotten really far. We have, in a sense, we have. There's a lot has passed on this show. So today we're talking about, we're going to start with Theresa because, first of all, Karen's here, so we got to make use of Karen's law degree. And a reminder to everybody, just a little disclaimer, this is not legal advice. Right?
Yeah. Please don't confess to murdering someone and then go to your priest and think you're going to get away with it. Not a good idea.
Not a good idea. So actually, we're gonna start before the whole what happens this week, and we're gonna do a little thing called Karen's Passions Legal Corner. Y'all ready for this? Yeah. All right, Karen. So we need you to settle a debate, though you've already settled it somewhat on the Discord. For the people who are not on the Discord, where do you land on the whole Father Lonigan parishioner priest confidentiality situation? Like the situation with Theresa, and where she went to him, talked to him, and he was like, I have to tell someone, and she told him not to. But does he legally have to? No.
He doesn't have to, but it's tricky. I looked it up, and there's this statute in Massachusetts that talks about the priest parishioner privilege, and the privilege is there, but it says, I don't remember the exact language, but it's something like you have to be seeking religious and spiritual advice when you're talking to the priest. It can't be you're just going to the priest trying to get them to help you with the murder or whatever crime you're committing. It can't be you're talking to a priest, but this priest isn't even your priest, that sort of thing. So I'm kind of in the middle with that, and I couldn't remember what exactly the circumstances were when Theresa spoke with Father Lonigan. And then Hannah and I were just talking on the Discord a couple minutes before we started recording, and the case law does consider the intent of the parishioner making the confession to the priest. So Hannah and I were like, okay, let's put Theresa on the stand and let her tell us why she was talking to Father Lonigan. She's probably going to blurt out something about, oh, well, I thought he'd tell me everything would be okay and I'll get Ethan back.
Yeah.
That was my reason for talking to him.
Yeah. Also, I think she also thought that he was going to, in a way, absolve her of keeping this to herself, right? Lying about it. I think she was hoping he was going to say, you're right, Julian was a horrible person and he did deserve to die. So I think that's what she went there for, to get some clarity on that. I don't know. I agree. I think it's kind of a gray area, I guess, from what I'm hearing from you. But I guess he doesn't have to go and tell the police that he knows who murdered Julian.
I wish he would, but that's me personally.
And that's that. Well, now we're gonna jump into this week's story and what's going on with Theresa. Truly, there wasn't a ton of Theresa this week, which honestly, truthfully, was a little refreshing, because when she did show up, she was annoying the crap out of me. I was like, girl, calm down. Why are you letting Ivy get under your skin like this? Ivy's your op. Why would you ever listen to her? It just doesn't make any sense. But let's jump into what's going on with I'm not even saying Theresa, Ethan, Gwen, because it really is all about Theresa. Ethan is there, but it's about Theresa. So we pick up this week in this storyline where Luis and Pilar are at the book cafe, and Pilar, of course, is very, very worried about what's going to happen to her daughter now that Theresa keeps saying that she killed Julian. And she says she doesn't know why she's done this, and she's very concerned that what she saw in her tea leaves at Charity's terrible party is going to come true. So a reminder, she saw in her tea leaves Theresa being executed for Julian's murder. She saw Miguel lying dead in a strange room. And she saw Luis and Antonio fighting with each other physically, as if one of them was going to kill the other. So she's very worried about all three of these things. But of course, Theresa's thing takes precedent, because it seems like it might be coming true as we speak. And so Luis tells her, you can't believe what you see in those tea leaves, like Tabitha's tea leaf reading. We don't believe in that stuff. Okay, yeah, but Luis, you believed in it enough to believe that you and Sheridan lived a past life on the Titanic together, right? Now you don't believe in it. And Beth makes that same argument to Luis, aside from Pilar, because she didn't want to upset Pilar. Nice enough for her. But she basically says, yeah, I mean, your mom saw that in the tea reading from Tabitha, and Tabitha's tea readings basically have all come true. I don't want to say that to your mom, because I'm sure that'll upset her, but maybe we should take it a little bit more seriously. Luis goes back, tells Pilar, everything's going to be fine. Theresa's got that Crane lawyer, and I'm sure they're going to take care of her and get her off. Pilar smartly is like, who knows if we can trust that lawyer? You can't. I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot trust that lawyer, because He is in cahoots with Alistair. Well, Alistair is his boss, and Alistair has told him, I want Theresa to get the death penalty, basically. He's like, don't help her, basically, at all. So they have this whole conversation, talk about the tea leaves. She says the Father Lonigan has been talking about evil coming back to Harmony, and she thinks that it's now attacking her family. He keeps trying to calm her down. He tells her, we're all fine with the exception of Theresa. But look, Miguel's off with his girlfriend. Probably he's happy as a clam. He's the happiest he's ever been. He's with the woman he loves. Antonio and I have no reason to fight with each other. What would we be fighting with each other about? Of course, cut to Antonio driving his dick into Sheridan.
Can we talk about Luis for a second, though? Did you bump on his interaction with Pilar at all? I got sort of annoyed with that. I felt like he was reverting a little bit to the old Luis, where he's sort of sexist and macho, and he's completely invalidating her feelings, even though, like you said, some of the prediction is already starting to come true. So she has a good reason to be scared that the rest is going to come true.
Yeah. I didn't read it quite like that, but I do hear what you're saying, like that he's kind of reverting to his old self. But I read it as he really just doesn't want Pilar to be upset. He's trying to calm her down, and he doesn't want her to have any reason. He wants to try and make everything okay, even though he can't make everything okay, right? Like and I agree. I think it is like a revert to his old self in that has parentified himself and has made himself kind of the person in charge of this whole situation, even above Pilar. But in a way, Pilar, that is the position she has put him in his whole life. Well, for many years, right? So he's I think he's just doing what he knows will comfort his mother, the thing that he has learned to do to comfort his mother, and that's to try and be the strong man for her that she doesn't have in her life. I agree to an extent, but I also see where it's coming from, I guess. But it is what it is. He's trying to calm her down. Then Jessica and Reese show up because they had been at the Bennett home. Again, I don't know what happened to Charity's party. There was no clear end to this party. The birthday girl just disappeared, and nobody asked why or what happened. She just left. And, they thought she was up in her room, right? The whole time the shadow was like walking back and forth. So I guess they were like, well, Charity's not here. No more party. So Reese and Jessica have come to the book cafe to get lattes, but on the way over, they heard the news about Theresa confessing to Julian's murder. So they see Pilar there, and they basically offer their, condolences, really. Like, they try and offer her some sympathy. And if there's anything we can do, let us know. And this is when they overhear her talking about her tea leaf reading and what she saw and how she's so worried about it. And Reese says, oh, we looked it up. And the berries, the juniper shade berries that were in the tea are hallucinogenic. And so right then and there, Beth, Luis, not Pilar. Pilar still is like, nah, she's too shaken up. She was the one who saw it, so that makes sense. But Beth, Luis, the kids, they all are like, oh, that explains it. Of course, you hallucinated. That's all it is. None of that's going to come true. It was just a hallucination. So Pilar decides, I need to go out for a walk. I want to walk out by myself. So she leaves the book cafe, and Beth and Luis stay there, and we'll talk more about what happens with Beth and Luis soon. Meanwhile, Theresa out on bail for one night. She's out on bail for
one night
only. She's out on bail for one night only. And she has this dream about being set free and how she and Ethan are going to get back together. And in her dream, she explains to him that she was protecting him out of love, because he says to her in her dream, he's like, I'm the one who killed Julian. Why'd you do it, Theresa? It's like, girl, so you understand Lisa Serafino has been saying this on the last couple of times she's been on, is like, So you believe that he absolutely killed Julian is letting you take the fall for it, right? Like that he knows he killed Julian is letting you take the fall for it, and you are okay with that. No, that
You
makes him
still
so
you still
shitty.
want to be with him.
Yeah, that makes him such a shitty person. But yeah, this is her dream. He is her dream, and I want her to have bigger and better dreams. I do. I really,
Yeah.
girl.
And in this dream, the dream, Ethan tells the dream Theresa, he says something like, "Oh, what you did for me shows how committed you are to the relationship, and I want you back." Oh, no.
Hell no.
You want to be with a guy you think is a killer. All right, fine. And a guy that was going to let you take the fall for it. I'm pretty sure Lisa's made those points before, but I completely agree. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But this is her dream. I don't know. I don't know why. She doesn't want better for herself, but she doesn't. Well, she's having this dream, and then we hear somebody telling her to wake up, and it's Whitney who is there, worried out of her mind. She tells Whitney tells Theresa, "You need to wake up." She hands her the newspapers, and she has like a stack of newspapers, and Theresa's face is plastered across the front page of every newspaper from Harmony to Atlanta, right? Like she is plastered across all of these newspapers as like this black widow. She's a murderer, a gold digger. She looks at these newspapers. She's like, "No, but this isn't right. This isn't what happened. This is not true." Whitney says, "Okay, do you get it now? This is not a game. This is not a La La Land. There are reporters outside waiting to pounce on you. Like this house was all of this really worth whoever you're covering for?" And Whitney insists that she's like not Whitney. Theresa insists that she's not covering for anybody, that this is she says Julian died because of me. And it's like that is an obvious tip off to everybody. And everybody is pointing out the language that she's using. Like Whitney keeps pointing out, you keep saying that Julian died because of you, but that does not mean you killed him, right? I know you didn't do this. But Theresa tells her to just drop it. She tells her, Alistair is gonna use his influence to get me off. Nothing's gonna happen to me. I'm gonna be fine. And Whitney says the Cranes may be rich, but they can't control what goes on in the courtroom. Which, I
You
love
sure about that?
Exactly. Like, I love that she has that, still believes in the justice system in that way in this town that is so utterly corrupt. And she hasn't learned yet how corrupt it is. But yeah, she's so fucking wrong about that. I noted that sentence because it's so funny. The Cranes may be rich, but they can't influence what goes on in the courtroom. Okay, sure, Whitney.
Yeah. She's gone from the lovable lunatic to the delusional lunatic.
Yeah, delusional dummy. She's she's a delusional dummy. And especially considering who she's saying she killed. Why the fuck would Alistair look out for you? You are not a Crane by blood. You are a Crane barely by law.
Yeah.
Barely by law. You are an in-law. Again, barely. Why
you
would
think Alistair wanted you to marry Julian? Hell no.
And you killed his son. We know that Alistair doesn't really give a fuck about his kids like that, and has threatened to murder Julian on several occasions and did in fact try to carry out Sheridan's murder. But those are still his kids. It's like it's one of those things where I can do it. I can kill my kid, but you can't do that to my kid, right?
Yeah.
Like she's delusional, like you said. Whitney again is trying to get Theresa to tell her what's going on. She's really hurt. She's like, "We've been friends our whole lives. I can't believe you won't trust me with this." But Theresa refuses. She's standing firm, standing tall and firm. Real stupid, real dumb, but she's sticking to it. Meanwhile, your favorite character, who is truly a menace right now, like truly detestable, this lady, Ivy Crane.
Yeah.
She's on the phone with Rebecca. I guess Rebecca was off this week. I guess Andrea Evans was off this week because we don't see her at all, but Ivy is talking to her on the phone constantly, which I
kept
love.
thinking someone was going to walk in on Ivy and overhear her conversation with Rebecca and then be like, oh, okay.
Oh,
So we know
please.
what happened to make Theresa confess.
That would never happen. Nobody ever hears anything important ever.
Yeah,
The
that's
only
true.
the most that would happen is that Ethan would walk in. Ethan would walk in on Ivy saying, "Yeah, Teresa's gonna fry," and he would be like, "What do you mean Teresa's gonna fry?" And she's like, "You know how much she likes fried chicken," and he'd be like, "Oh, that's right, she does like fried chicken." Like, like that's
Remember when she worked at the Burger Hut and the chicken
chicken
coop or whatever it is?
yeah. So we would never. It would never happen like that because Passions would never be that honest with us.
Yeah,
So
sadly.
Ivy is on the phone with Rebecca, gloating about how Rebecca's plan is going perfectly. She's positively gleeful. She's like, Theresa will be executed. Okay, so she is thrilled about how all of this is going. Meanwhile, Pilar's at the house working again. I don't get this lady. I don't get this lady. What? Why are you in your maid uniform? I don't understand this woman. She's at the mansion, dressed up in her housekeeper uniform, talking to Ethan, worried about her daughter who just committed to a murder. Yeah, girl, take the day off.
Do something about it. Help Theresa. Don't work.
Yeah, I mean, definitely don't be there in your housekeeper outfit. Go, and you should be like in Teresa's face, constantly just slapping her, like until she comes to her senses. Right, just shaking her, slapping her, pouring water on her, water if you have to. Right, like be a mother.
I'm your mother. Boom. Listen to me. Slap.
Yeah, be a mother. Lay hands on that girl. Like,
Yeah.
no, I do not condone child abuse and violence. I'm joking, sort of, kind of. I do.
You can tell we're millennials because we're like, yeah, parents slap kids around. It's fine.
Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all the things that my parents did to us. We definitely would have been taken away by CPS in the year of our Lord 2024. Like they would be in jail. They would not be on the streets. So just yeah. To me, it's like, what's a little slap between mama and daughter?
Yeah.
She just does it out of love. Do I believe it? You know what? This is a good moment to say one thing. I do not believe in hitting kids. Like, it's one of the things, and I think it's because of my childhood, because I know that it doesn't actually work. So, like,
It doesn't, yeah.
I don't believe in, I know I make jokes about, like, Pilar needs to slap Theresa. And I do still think she needs to slap Theresa because Theresa truly does need a slap or something right now. Mm-hmm. However, it truly in general, as far as like corporal punishment and disciplining your kids, I do not believe in putting your hands on kids or hitting kids at all. It doesn't work. So that's my little aside for today, because I know we make jokes about it, but I do take that very, 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 very seriously. It's very important to me that people know that to me, I don't believe in that at all. So moving on, and it has caused many an argument between me and my mother. So I'm like, it doesn't work, lady. It simply doesn't work. But anyway, moving on. Pilar is not slapping Theresa. She's in her maid uniform, having a conversation with Ethan, trying to figure out who he is covering for. Ethan tells her, because she says, I don't know who she could possibly be covering for. It couldn't be it. Like me and Luis, we already tried to say we killed Julian to get her off the hook in case she was covering for us, but she wasn't covering for us. And the only person we can think of is you. And Ethan's like, I'm telling you in no uncertain terms, I did not kill Julian. So she's like, so yeah, I don't know. Who could she possibly be covering for? Who does she care so much about that she will be covering for them? And meanwhile, Ethan's like working really hard on trying to figure out how to get her confession thrown out. He's looking up precedents on cases where confessions were thrown out and overturned. He said, but Theresa still has to recant, right? Then Theresa finally comes downstairs, and Ivy like chats her up, and that should have put like little alarm bells on for her. The fact that the minute Ivy saw her, Ivy's like smiling at her. Ivy's like, Theresa, have some coffee. We'll have some decaf for you since you're pregnant. She's being so nice to her. And that should be raising flags for her. And because the last, I want to say, year, every single encounter Theresa has had with Ivy has started with Ivy saying, you bitch. Like,
Yeah.
like every single encounter starts with an insult to Theresa. So the fact that Ivy's being so nice to her, she should not have even engaged with Ivy in this moment. Like, she should have been like, nah, girl, I'm going to the kitchen. I'll see you later. Like,
It did seem to me like Theresa was more suspicious at first, but then Ivy started talking about herself and saying, I can understand where you're coming from, you know. No one knows better than me how terrible Julian is. Honestly, I wanted to kill him myself during our marriage. He's a pig. He turned his back on Ethan when he found out he wasn't Ethan's father, blah, blah, blah. So I think that softened Theresa up a little bit. And Theresa's a very susceptible person anyway. She's very persuadable, easily persuadable. So Ivy got her claws in her.
Ivy got her quick with the quickness. And you were absolutely right. Theresa is so persuadable. Like, it's interesting how bendable she can be and how firm she can be on other very stupid things, right? Where she should be willing to bend, like this moment of insanity where she's confessing to a murder. This should be a moment where she'll bend, but she won't. But talking to Ivy, who is in fact her enemy, she's like willing to kind of like get loose and let loose and talk with Ivy like they're friends. It was crazy to me. So they kind of commiserate, like you said, about how much they hated Julian, and Ivy starts playing this mind game with Theresa, which at first I thought I knew what this was about, but then I was like, well, why did they do this? Okay. So Ivy starts to play this little mind game with Theresa where she says she's so worried about Ethan because he's racking his brain looking for ways to help her out in this case and keep her out of prison. And he's just consumed beyond reason. And she says, and I don't know, it's like something else other than his love for you is driving him, right? So she's laying those little seeds of like, there's something else that's driving Ethan, which is the fact that he actually is the murderer, right? But he doesn't want to say that. And instead is just trying to work to make sure you don't get in trouble for it. That is the subtext here, right? And Ivy gets more and more worked up. She's like, I know he cares for you, Theresa, but it's like something else is driving him. The longer it takes to sentence you, the worse it's gonna get for him. And the sentencing these days takes so long. It takes forever. And Ethan, in all that time, I don't know, he might be driven to do something crazy, like confess to the murder himself. And of course, Theresa's like, no, he can't do that. Oh, why?
She starts panting and tugging at her hair. She's really stressed out.
She's so stressed out. She's like panicking. This drives her to panic. And it doesn't, she fully takes the bait. And I thought that this was going to incentivize Theresa to try and move up her sentencing herself. But that's not at all what happened, because Davis shows up immediately. The lawyer shows up immediately and tells her her sentencing hearing has been set for today, this afternoon. Now, mind you, she just got out on bail yesterday. Now, it's time for another legal corner. We gotta wait on the music. Okay, Karen, tell us the issue here with Theresa's bail hearing. She just got out on bail. She hasn't been out on bail for 24 hours because her bail hearing was last night, right?
Yeah.
And now this morning she has a sentencing. shouldn't there be something that happens between a bail and a sentencing hearing? At least one or two things?
Yeah, you should have time. You should have time to prepare your defense. I did a little bit of Googling on that, and from what I found, if someone confesses to a crime, the defense can waive trial and go to sentencing. And the lawyers here, Ethan and Davis, well, Ethan doesn't want it, but Davis is making the argument like nothing's going to change it. There's nothing we can do anyway. Might as well get it over with. And Theresa's agreeing with him. But I still think it's ridiculous for a defense lawyer to do that, to say, okay, we're going to waive any time to prepare for the hearing and just go to sentencing. There's a due process violation. Everyone's entitled to a fair trial, and she's not getting a fair trial here. I personally don't really like Theresa. She annoys me, but hey, I'm all for civil rights and people to get their due process, so she should have that.
Yeah, we want the law to do what the law's supposed to do. But yeah, it was so ridiculous to me. I was like, what? She's being sentenced today? Like, I know she confessed, but isn't there a moment? I don't know. Listen, I don't commit crimes, so I've never been near a criminal court. I don't know anything about it, right? But after she confesses to the crime, they do a bail hearing or whatever, right? Is there not another hearing where they have to say, yes, we find you? I mean, I know she said she did it, but like, don't they have to officially say you're guilty? Doesn't the prosecution have to do something? They don't have to
I
do
would
anything?
think so. I'm not a criminal lawyer, so I'm not sure exactly how the process for that is. But yeah, you would think there would actually need to be something. Maybe that's
Some
what
sort of
this is about.
process.
Maybe that's this sentencing hearing is where they go in there and they're like, okay, we do find you guilty.
Okay.
So here's your
And
sentence.
this is the process. Okay. All right.
I guess this is Passion's law, Passion's court.
Passion's court. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, they're
terrible.
just, and you can tell they're just doing this to move the plot along. That's the only reason why they're making this go so fast, because they can drag out stuff for as long as they want, but they're moving it along in this case because they want to get to the next thing, I guess.
Yeah, and they are dragging it. I mean, they're not dragging it out, and they drag out so many others completely inconsequential things. But this thing that should have a process and should take a little bit longer it would be understandable for it to take a little bit longer and be lingering over their heads. And it would be so interesting for the plot for them to start, like, for people to really be doing the investigating and figuring out, like, why is Theresa doing this? And it comes down to the wire and they finally get, like, whatever evidence they need, and the court date comes and it all blows up. But of course, we're trying to get to Theresa's execution, so whatever, fine. And her execution isn't for another like 3 months, 4 months. So from this point, because we're in May, I think her execution was in like July, May, June, July. Yeah, so like 3 months. So anyway, that happens with Theresa's hearing. It's been moved to today. Davis says that the prosecution says it's an open and shut case since Theresa already confessed, and they feel like they have sufficient physical evidence to put her away. But what is the physical evidence? A gun, some gloves with some gunpowder residue, and Julian's ring? Where is the blood? Where is the forensic evidence from his body? Where is his body? Wouldn't there be cans and cans of tuna that have 2 pieces of Julian in them?
Yuck, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this reminds me of something I wanted to say earlier. When Beth was at the book cafe with Luis and it was Beth and Luis.
Pilar?
I guess it was just them talking, but anyway, Luis started rattling off the evidence they had on her. He said they found the gun she said she used. They found a missing bullet. They found gunpowder residue on her gloves. He shouldn't be talking about that.
No.
This is an open investigation. What the hell are you doing? Not to mention the fact that you're her brother, so you shouldn't be on the investigation anyway, but we covered that many podcast episodes ago where I went on a rant about that, so I'm not going to talk about that anymore.
Listen, we love a good rant here. Yeah, he is bad at his job. Like many other people in this town. He's terrible, terrible, terrible at his job. He doesn't know the ins and outs of the law. He just goes out willy-nilly doing whatever.
Yeah.
Telling about people about open cases, and it is what it is. He's like, everybody's bad at their jobs. Everybody's so bad at their jobs. I think I have one with Eve this week too that I'm just like, God, come on, Eve. But anyway, Eve's probably the worst at her job. But moving on. Yeah, to Ivy. Okay, at the mansion. Physical evidence. Davis says it's an open and shut case. At this point, everybody in the room, so it's, I think, Pilar, Whitney, Ethan, Ivy. I don't think Luis was there at this point. Davis, these are the people in the room. Of course, Ivy, literally, I don't know if you noticed Ivy throughout these scenes, like to the side, smiling from ear to ear.
I did, yeah.
And nobody notices it. Nobody's
right.
Says like, Ivy, why are you so happy?
Of course not. Of course. Why would they notice that?
It's great. But yeah.
Why would they be suspicious of her?
It was so good. Like, it was such good framing of like camera work, because in the foreground you would have Theresa and Ethan and Pilar, and they're all trying to tell Theresa, like, you're gonna die, you're gonna be executed, that you don't understand the gravity of your situation, and they're pleading with her, begging her. She's, like you said, pulling at her hair and holding her chest, and she's really in pain, and she's grappling with this decision. And in the background you can just see Ivy in her wheelchair, you can see her full body, and she's smiling.
Yeah. I wrote down in my notes, Ivy is beaming.
From ear to ear, from sea to shining sea, she's beaming. And and nobody notices. So everybody's trying to get Theresa to petition the court for more time, to postpone her sentencing. But she refuses, saying she wants to get it over with sooner rather than later. And then the next tactic is, they're like, well, admit you're covering for somebody, because we know you're covering for someone. But of course she won't. There is one point where they say, I think Ethan or Pilar, somebody says, you're going to take the punishment for somebody else. But the person who really killed Julian is the person who needs to be punished, is the person who needs to go to jail. And she says, no, I don't want that. And they all are like, okay, so you are covering for somebody. So you are. Oh, girl. This girl has zero poker face. She would be a terrible...
negative poker face.
No, yeah, negative poker face. She has nothing. She can't hide anything on her face. So that all happens. She's just like, no, I refuse. And then Ivy zooms into her wheelchair and tells everybody to leave poor Theresa alone. She intervenes. It's so obvious. She's just like, you're badgering the poor girl. Hasn't she been through enough? Girl, please, you hate her. And we all know it. Oh, gosh. It's just crazy.
It's so ridiculous, and all I can do is laugh at it, because like you said, it's so obvious. The viewer knows what's going on. Yeah. These characters act like they don't. You just want to reach in the TV and shake them.
Yeah. So that's really all with the Theresa stuff right now. You have anything to add with Theresa?
Nope.
So let's very quickly talk about what's going on with Chad and Whitney. So Whitney was at the mansion, right? And we're going to follow Whitney, and we'll see her again in a moment. But first we have to pick up with Chad, because at the book cafe, Eve and TC are at the book cafe where everybody knows Chad works. Everybody, if you don't want to see Chad, the book cafe would be a bad place to go. That's all I'm saying. Right? Yeah. TC and Eve are at the book cafe, and they're having a conversation about Chad. And then Chad walks in because he's like stopping by to like pick up his check because he works there. And TC immediately just goes up and starts harassing him. He sees him walk in the door, and he makes a beeline to Chad and says, "I thought I told you to leave town." Who the fuck are you? What authority do you have? Like, and what is this? Some kind of like the Wild Wild West? I thought there ain't room in this town for the both of us. Like, he is so Fraggle Rockin' annoying. I cannot stand TC. I really cannot. And on what authority, TC? And Chad says to him, "Yo, man, I live here and I work here." Like, again, if you didn't want to see me, maybe don't come to a place where I work.
Yeah, and good for Chad for standing up for himself and putting TC in his place.
I applaud Chad. Honestly, Chad's interactions with TC and Eve, this whole horrible Russell clan, has been so gracious for so many years at this point. He has really bent over backwards to make these people basically see him as a fucking person, really. And so I am proud of him for sticking up for himself. I hate that he constantly is having to do this. I really hate this, because we've known Chad for years now. And this whole "you drugged Whitney" thing, it does not track. It simply doesn't track. And they have zero evidence to support it. None whatsoever. It's not like somebody told them, "Hey, I saw Chad putting something in Whitney's drink." Or,
and now Eve knows that that's not what happened.
So, and I hate the way she just stands there. So, TC goes to harass Chad. He tells him, "I told you to leave town." Chad says, "I live here, I work here." Then TC says, this was so stupid. Chad says, "I live here and I work here." And TC says, "Yeah, doing what? Giving young girls drugs in between DJ gigs? That's a hell of a side job, Chad." Oh my God. Giving young girls drugs. Nobody gives out drugs. Let's be clear. If you're a drug dealer, from what I've heard, I don't know. I don't really know anything about it, really. But from what I've heard and seen in media, a drug dealer might give you the first hit, but once you get addicted, they, sell it to you, right?
It's a business transaction.
Yes. But there's no drug dealer that's just like giving away their drugs willingly. Like, that's
free weed every Friday. Come to my house.
If only. Can you imagine? If only. So, God, a world where drugs were free? Prescription drugs, obviously. Okay. So anyway. Off the drug talk. Let's not go there. There's something else that happens with drugs here. Oh, Tabitha makes a crack about Reese being on drugs that cracked me up. On drugs, isn't he? We'll get there. Okay, so there's a lot of, this is the drug episode, everybody. So he accuses Chad of being a drug dealer, and Chad says, "For the last time, I would never do that to Whitney. All right, I wouldn't in a million years. I already told you how I feel about her." And TC says, "Well, you need to get over it because she's not allowed to be around you." And then Chad's like, "Man, what's with you today? I mean, I saw you last night at Charity's party and we were fine. You didn't give me any trouble there." And TC's like, "Well, don't get off the subject." Well, don't get off the subject. What is your gainful employment anyway? Let me just say this. I haven't seen TC at his job. Aren't you supposed to work at the school? Aren't you supposed to be like a coach at the school? I haven't seen him at his job. I've seen Chad DJing parties. I've seen Chad working at the book cafe. He works. I see him at his jobs. I've seen him at the studio. I've seen, the last time I saw TC at work was in like episode 75. I've seen this man at work. So he's the last person who needs to be like, literally, I've seen everybody else at their jobs. Pilar, this one, his wife, Eve, Sam, and I've even seen Grace at her job. I never see TC at work. So for him to be like, "What's your gainful employment?" Why, you want a job application?
Yeah.
You looking for a recommendation?
Yeah, Chad stood there and gave him the list. He said the recording studio, the book cafe, I do DJing gigs. And yeah, like you said, he should have just said, you want an application? You want to work at the book cafe too?
Yeah.
Serve some lattes?
Because I never see you working. When's the last time you
Yeah.
got a paycheck? You just living off your rich doctor wife. We all
Yeah.
know it.
Shut up and go back to the school. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And okay, so then Chad brings up that he's now working at the recording studio, and TC's like, oh, the one that's owned by the Cranes? Well, isn't that just a match made in hell? You in business with the Cranes. It's like, oh God, get off it. Just get off it. Go back to your wife. Let her give you a sedative. Like, yeah, that's what we needed. We needed her to.
If you want a sedative or something to quiet your nerves.
She needed to come and do that to TC. Okay,
Yeah,
'cause
she
he
should
needed to
have.
calm down. He is
She
out of
never
control.
sedates the people who need it, just the ones who don't.
Yeah, exactly. Because she's bad at her
She's
job.
bad at her job.
Bad at her job. And so TC then says to him, if you insist on staying in harmony, there's nothing I can do about it, but I want you to stay away from my daughters because I don't want them around drug dealers like you. And Chad, now this was I was like, oh, Chad, you asking for it. Chad grabs him by the arm and he's like, last time I checked, this is supposedly a free country where a man is judged by who he is. So of course, now we get into the Martin Luther King shit. And okay. TC then says, don't preach to me about being a black man in this country. Oh my God, who the fuck
wow.
wrote this? I was like, these white people
Yep.
who wrote this. It's dripping with like just suburban white mom. Don't you preach to me about being a black man in this country. I've been paying my dues a long time. And then Chad responds with, I ain't talking about race. Oh God, who wrote this? I ain't talking about race. He says, there are other kinds of prejudice in this world, and you, coach, are the champ at practicing it. Now, this is a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
There are more types of prejudice in the world than just racism. However, I would posit that TC is absolutely dealing in racism when he's talking to Chad, right? Like this is a type of very insidious racism. The writers, whoever wrote this, have a very narrow understanding of racism. So they believe that like, oh, a black person can't be racist to another black person, right? But that, of course, is not true, right? Because black people, like everybody else in this country, we live and grow up with all kinds of racist ideologies and racist thoughts, right? And we live with the same messages that everybody else gets about black people. So you can become susceptible to to racist thought, even if you are a black person, right? It's very easy to fall into the I'm not like those black people, right? And that's what TC deals in. So it was all very, it's passions. So you're not going to get any depth of anything really. And when you do get something deep, it shocks you and it surprises you. So I'm not upset at this. I'm not mad at this. It just was so ridiculous. Don't you talk to me about being a black man in this country. Oh my God. Like, who wrote this? Okay, so Chad says there are many types of prejudice, and you are practicing one type of prejudice against me. He says, I may be younger, but I've got a right to defend myself. I totally agree. Of course you do. He says, as a matter of fact, I have a duty to prove to you that I am not who you think I am. He says, a man is innocent until proven guilty. And I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to prove to you and Dr. Russell that you're wrong about me. And TC's like, I won't hold my breath. And this is when Beth interrupts because she's like, the two of you are not about to start fighting in my establishment. I just
Right.
I have a big mortgage payment on this fucking place. I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So she tells TC, TC, your drinks are on the house, and kind of sends him on his way. And she pulls Chad to the side, and she is very sweet to him and tells him, you know you didn't do that to Whitney. You know you're innocent. You need to forget about the Russells, and because you don't need their approval. And it was sweet. It was sweet of Beth to like tell him that it's the truth. He doesn't need their approval, but in his mind, he's like, well, I want to be with Whitney. I'm in love with Whitney, so I do need their approval. So, then while all of this is going on, Eve is just sitting across the cafe, watching on silently. David randomly shows up and whispers in her ears like, you could stop all this if you just told the truth. And she's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. you could tell the truth too. David gets me every time he tries to guilt Eve into telling the truth, because it's like, you could also tell the truth. It would be different if it was somebody else, like if it was Grace who knew this thing, but Eve had like sworn her to secrecy, and so it's like not her place to say. I still would be like, Grace, you could help Chad out because he's an innocent, but I would understand it more. David, sir, you are the liar in chief in this town right now. What are you talking about? You could also tell the truth. But so every time he tries to guilt Eve about like, you need to tell on Ivy, it's like, why don't you tell on Ivy?
Yeah.
For the same reason I'm not.
That's all their lines are when they get together. They argue back and forth about who needs to tell the truth first.
Yeah, and neither one of them are going to do it. So,
Nope.
So
their
this
lips
is
are
a moot
sealed.
point. It's just us two liars getting together and talking about how we're going to keep on lying.
Yeah.
So she doesn't do anything in that moment. However, later on, we see Whitney. She's very upset, and she runs into Chad outside the studio, and he sees she's crying. He comforts her, asks her what's wrong. She explains what's going on with Theresa and how much it has upset her. And he invites her into the studio. He's like, why don't you come inside? We can have some tea. We can kind of talk things through and relax a little bit. And she refuses. She's like, no, I'm actually only here because this is on my way home. And he's like, you're such a liar. This isn't anywhere near your way home. You're here because you wanted to see me, and that's okay. Like, you're here because you were upset and you want to see me. You need to just accept that. And she denies this, of course, as she always does. And then he starts to get like a little upset, and he's just like, why are you still so afraid of me? Why are you still running away from me when you know I'm the one who loves you most? I don't know about the most part, but okay. When you know I love you, basically. And then he says, well, I'll answer my own question. It's because you want me. It's because you want me, and you care as much about me as I care about you. And she softens to this. It was actually a nice speech that he gave her. And so she eventually agrees to go inside with Chad, and they're about to head into the studio.
Cute TC walking over.
TC and Eve are turning the corner. David's just walking behind them for some reason. And I guess they were all together, left the book cafe.
If he's
together,
tagging along.
I guess he's a third wheel. So they
Yeah.
turn the corner, and TC says, I already warned him about that. He shouldn't be with our daughter. And he just runs. He grabs Chad. It happened so fast. He yanks Chad away from Whitney, throws him to the ground, and starts beating him up. David tries to like pull him off. He pushes David so hard that David hits his head against the curb. This is when Eve like goes over to kind of like check on David to make sure David's okay, like in her capacity as a doctor, I guess. And David tells her, you have to stop this. He's like, you're the only one who can stop this. And so she gets up and she starts screaming. Whitney's yelling like, Mama, do something. Daddy, stop it. You're going to kill him. Stop. And Eve finally yells, TC, stop. I know for a fact he didn't drug Whitney. And that's where we ended this week. Like, I know for a fact he did not drug Whitney. That's what she said to him. And he stops. Everything stops. The world freezes. We shall see what comes of this next week. I do not remember what she says. I'm sure it's a lie.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
I don't remember
it's a lie. But because I do know that the truth doesn't come out. So we shall see. But that's the end of that this week. You had anything to add on the Chad and Whitney front?
No, I don't think so.
No, don't think so. All right, so now let's move on to magic. It's time to talk about this zombie. I was telling Karen before we started, I'm sick of Zombie Charity. She can kick rocks at this point. I'm over it. I've had it. It was fun. It was nice. It was a nice change of pace because I hate Charity as a character, like the regular Charity. But this Zombie Charity is very irritating. It's very irritated to me now. It's getting ridiculous. Girl, kill Miguel or don't kill Miguel. Like, let's get it done. If you're gonna do it, please do it. But the whole back and forth, I'm tired of it. So let's talk about what this stupid zombie's doing. She hasn't killed anybody yet. She keeps talking about how she's gonna kill somebody. She hasn't managed to murder a single person. Yeah. Tabitha is better than her. She doesn't want to believe it, but Tabitha has murdered so many people. Not since we have seen her murder a few people since the show started even. So Tabitha's body count is so much higher than the zombie's is. The zombie can't get the job done. She simply can't get the job done. So the boys in the basement really should just consider giving Tabitha back her powers, in my opinion. In my opinion. So let's talk about what's going on with this zombie. Zombie Charity and Miguel are at the hotel ready to get it on, right? They at the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. They're at the hotel, ready to get it on. Miguel really wants this to be a really special night, which is so sweet and lovely. Like he's so sweet. He's lit so many candles. He's run them a bubble bath. He put all of these like herbs into the bubble bath that he found, just random herbs he found in Tabitha's garden. Yeah, and he's like, I put them in here because I thought they would smell good. Well, the juniper shade turns the zombie, it like brings the demon out of Zombie Charity. So her hands and feet are starting to change into their zombie form, and she has to quickly find a way to keep him from seeing her. So she gives him because I don't know if I was clear. They are naked in the bathtub together. Like they've really gone a little far for, teenagers, but they're naked in this bathtub together at this point, and she's behind him so he can't really see her, and to keep him from seeing her, because she's noticed that she's starting to transform, she gives him a rolled up towel and puts it over his eyes. It's like, oh look, this warm towel, this will help you relax. She puts it over his eyes, and then she eventually turns fully demon form, like goes into her full demon form. And she says she wants to get out of the tub, but she doesn't want him to see her. He's like, oh, you're so shy. You're such a shy girl. I promise I won't peek. And as she gets out of the tub, he like touches her leg and he pulls back. He's like, oh, what's that? He's like, Charity, your legs, are you okay? It felt like scales. And it's so interesting because if I touch something, my eyes were covered, I touch something, I would immediately uncover my eyes, right? Like, I'm like, what the fuck am I touching? Right?
And keep in mind, around this time, she's getting out of the tub. They had candles lit in the bathroom. The candles have burst into complete flame. Like there's fire all around them. The water in the tub is getting so hot it is boiling. But Miguel is still oblivious, and he's just laying there with that towel over his eyes the whole time.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
I was cracking up. It's so dumb.
It was so
Get
dumb.
out of the water.
You're absolutely right. I forgot. I meant to say that. Yeah, the flames just like surround the bathtub. And yeah, he talks about how the water's getting hotter, and she's like, oh, I just turned on the jets. And he's like, that should make the water hotter, but okay. And yeah, so she gets out, he touches her leg, realizes that it feels like, she's like, oh, I need to put on some lotion. He's like, oh, it's okay, I don't want you to be embarrassed. He's sweet. Yeah. He's a sweetheart. Like, he really is. I don't like him. I know I talk a lot of shit about Miguel. I do. I talk because he's an idiot, and he's been a jackass to Kay. But he is sweet.
I think part of that is what you guys have said before on the show, that he's nervous too. He's most likely a virgin too. So I think he wants it, but he's stalling a little bit. And also he's probably still weirded out because he realizes somewhere in his subconscious, he realizes that's not the real Charity.
I agree. I have been, that's a point that I've been making or have made before. Like, I think on some level, he knows that's not Charity. Like, on some level, he knows it's not Charity. Especially considering how they talk about how they have this such a great love, right? Like, they're soulmates. If somebody's your soulmate in this sense, in this fantasy type of world, like, I'm not saying that in the real world we can like feel each other's souls necessarily like that, but in this like fantasy world, I feel like you would notice like there's something off about our little soul bond, right? Like, I don't feel you the same way that I was feeling you before, because it's magic, and he's always been like, he always is like, I sense Charity's in danger. I don't know. Maybe they severed the link when she got put on ice or something.
The zombie keeps talking about, oh, this is going to be the hottest sex ever with Miguel, blah, blah, blah. No, honey, he's a virgin. No, it's not. This is his first time. It's not going to be the best sex ever. Sorry.
Sorry, girl. Sorry to this woman. You are in for a very disappointing and short night. And I think
maybe Zombie's a virgin too. We don't know.
I mean, listen, if we think about it in terms of like, she was created by Kay like just a few months ago, then yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she just came into existence, and she's in Charity's body. So does that mean that she, in Charity's form, that she is like, everything's intact, if you know what I mean? Right? In Charity's body? Maybe. So, anyway, yeah, she keeps saying the sex is going to be hot and so good. No, it's not. It's going to be terrible, but that's for you to find out.
Right.
So she gets out of the water, and she puts a robe on and dries. Once she's like dry, she turns back into her regular Charity form. And so he takes off the cloth. He doesn't see anything. He is none the wiser. He has no clue that this demon is trying to kill him with her cooch. He suspects nothing.
Sorry, the coochie demon. I'm gonna get that stuck in my head.
Yeah, she's just trying to take his life with her.
Yeah,
with her vag, death by vagina. So, meanwhile, at the Bennett home, we've got Reese and Jessica. Poor Jessica. I'm glad that we're finally seeing a little bit of Jessica, because we never see her. But God, she obviously loves Reese so much and is so into him. And he, for whatever reason, believes that Kay is his girlfriend. I don't understand why he still thinks Kay is his girlfriend. I don't understand it. Have y'all been on a single date? What makes you think that that's your girlfriend? She clearly doesn't like you. She's always putting you off and sending you off somewhere without her. She doesn't like you, Reese. But he's like, yeah, Kay's my girlfriend. What do you mean? In what way? I haven't seen any way that the two of you are in a relationship. I haven't seen, we know that Charity and Miguel are in a relationship. We see them together all the time. These two people are constantly together, going out on dates. He's always getting her hot chocolate. I mean, what else? That obviously they're together. Reese, Kay, y'all are never together. But he says to Jessica, like, because he asks where Kay is, and Jessica says, "Who cares?" And he says, "Well, I do. She's my girlfriend." And she's like, "Is she?" I do. She's my girlfriend. No, she's not. But
Poor Jessica.
Yeah, honestly, poor Jessica. I wish they had given Jessica a better story altogether, a better story. I hate what they do with Jessica. I hate what they do with Jessica. And we'll get there when we get there. And you're all going to hate it too if you haven't seen it. So it'll be interesting to talk about though when we get to like Jessica, finally when Jessica gets a storyline. So anyway, Reese and Jessica are talking, and he says he's picked some of those berries, the juniper shade berries from Tabitha's garden, so that he can prove that Tabitha is a witch, because he's like, she needs to drink the tea and it'll prove that she's a witch. Fine, whatever. I'm going with it because it proves that Charity was a demon, right? It brought the demon out of Charity, so maybe it'll bring the witch out of Tabitha. I believe that's what it's meant to do. I don't know what physically would change about Tabitha, though. It's one thing to physically change into a demon, but Tabitha is a witch, and witches just look like old ladies. No, well, not always old ladies, but she's just gonna look like an old lady. So I don't know what would happen if she drank the tea. I'm interested to see if Passion's thought about that and if that comes up ever, but I doubt it will. Anyway, Kay comes in asking for. Looking for Miguel, and Reese tells her, "Oh, well, you know, Miguel went off with Charity so they could be alone and have romantic time, right, honey?" And she's like, "Ugh, please don't call me honey, first of all." And he's like, "So we should let them have a good time, and we were gonna go get lattes at the book cafe." Again, what is going on at this party? Why are people just going off to the book cafe? Is the party over? I guess so.
Yeah. And Grace was at the party. Where is Grace? Grace is okay with her niece leaving her own birthday party to go fuck Miguel at the hotel?
Yeah. Where is everybody who was at the party? Where's Simone? Poor Simone is the only person left at this party. Truly. She's just in the backyard.
She's sitting out back eating cake, listening to music.
She's waiting for the cake to be... They never brought the cake out. She's waiting on the cake to be... She's like, we never had cake, so this party can't be over.
Man, Jessica and Simone, they need some therapy, and they need their own soap operas so they can have a good storyline.
They need justice. We owe them justice. I hope if there's ever a Passions reboot, they give them a little bit more. I really do. I would love to see more Simone and Jessica fleshed out and have more interesting stories, especially with Jessica being a witch. Right? Like, Jessica has power. She is a Standish woman. She has powers. I would love for them to have talked about that more and used that more. Especially, it would have been so good because we know Charity is just like a waste, right? She's supposed to be the most powerful, but she doesn't remember anything. She doesn't know how to use her powers. She's useless, right? But imagine Kay v. Jessica, like these two rival siblings, and they both realize they have powers, and Jessica's like constantly trying to thwart Kay's like plans, and Kay is like trying to fight Jessica off, and they're using their powers under their mother's nose. Like, neither of them want their mother to know because she's too much of an idiot to help them with any of it anyway, and she's too wrapped up in her own self. Jessica's whole thing would be like, I don't want mom to worry, and Kay's whole thing would be like, mom doesn't give a fuck about us anyway, so I'm gonna do what
mom's a bitch. That would be so good. Okay, Passions, call us. We'll write new storylines for you.
Truly, that would have been so interesting and cool. Like, I would have loved to see a storyline where these two sisters come into their powers and then like use them against each other and get into I wouldn't even have minded like a bunch of hijinks, between these two girls figuring out their powers. It would have been a lot of fun, but they refuse.
Nope.
And instead they have Jessica pining after Reese for some reason and whatever. So Reese tells Kay, me and Jessica are going to get lattes. You should come with us. She's like, no, you two go. I have to run an errand. After he tells her, like, they went to a hotel. So Kay then spends some time calling around to hotels in the area looking for Miguel and Charity. And let me just tell you, as a person who used to work at hotels, you can't just call a hotel and ask, is Miguel Lopez Fitzgerald staying at your hotel? They cannot tell you that.
Yeah, I wrote that down because I remembered you said you used to work at hotels. I didn't think that was allowed. I figured you would know, so thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, it's a privacy issue. It's a safety issue. Why do you need to know?
Yeah.
If they wanted you to know where they are, they would have told you where they were. Right? So, no, we can't. Hotels can't just tell you. Yeah, Miguel Lopez Fitzgerald staying at this hotel. Well, this hotel does tell her. She calls around to a bunch. She finds the right one. And then she gets in the car and heads over there. And while she's in the car, she hears on the radio that Theresa has confessed to Julian's murder. So now she's got a good reason to, like, break up their whole night of sex, right? And then Zombie Charity comes over the radio, like, Zombie Charity knows that Kay is on her way because Kay calls their room for some reason. I don't know why she didn't just go.
Yeah, I guess she thought the phone call would help her warn Miguel faster, but there's a 50-50 chance Zombie Charity is going to answer the phone and then you'll be completely out of luck.
Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
She called, Zombie Charity answers the phone, tells her there's nothing you can do, Kay. I'm going to have sex with him and I'm going to kill him tonight. And so Kay jumps in the car and drives like a bat out of hell to get to this hotel. She hears on the radio that Theresa has confessed to Julian's murder. So now she's got like a good reason to be going to find Miguel, which is great for her. But then Zombie Charity comes over the radio and just kind of taunts her. And it's just like, you're listening to hot sex radio, hot sex and death. And like, it's just silliness. And then Kay gets pulled over because, of course, she's speeding, right? She gets pulled over. She tries to talk to this officer and tells who, by the way, the officer is played by second Ethan. Did you see that? It's played by Eric Marstall from Marstall.
I thought he looked sort of like second Ethan. I didn't realize that actually was the actor.
That actually was the actor. Yeah, I was like, oh, shit, Ethan. All right. We're seeing Ethan before we see Ethan. I was right. It kind of perked me up a little bit. And he did such a good job because Zombie Charity. Okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. The officer pulls her over. She says, officer, I really got to go. I'll never speed again. This is a matter of life and death. Can't you just give me a warning since I am the police chief's daughter? And then she looks up at him and realizes, wait a minute. I know all the officers that work with my father, and you don't look familiar to me. You don't look familiar to me at all. And then we hear Zombie Charity's voice come out of his mouth, right? She's like, ha, 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 Kay, you're not going to get to me and Miguel. Me and Miguel are going to have sex, and I have to keep you from getting there. And he does such a good job of, like, doing the lip sync because it's Zombie Charity's voice that comes out, but he obviously is pantomiming it and acting it out. He did such a great job. I was like, wow, he's like right on point. So he reaches inside, grabs the keys out of the ignition, throws them into like the woods so she can't find them, and taunts her some more and then leaves, right? And so Kay is stranded. But then, no, I remember Dad keeps an extra set of keys in the glove compartment. I said, what the fuck kind of cop leaves their keys in the glove compartment of their car? What kind of person, what kind of idiot leaves keys to their car in the glove compartment? I could see you leaving a spare house key in your car, right? Like, you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe. That makes a little bit more sense. There's a spare house key in the car if for whatever reason my regular house key falls off my car keys. I don't know. It's a terrible place to put keys. The glove compartment is a bad place to put keys, but whatever. He's keeping his car keys, his extra spare car keys in the glove compartment. Is that a thing?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, because how easy that's handing somebody your car.
Yeah, and what is the point? You want an extra set of keys in case you lock yourself out. But if you lock the extra keys in your car when you've locked yourself out of the car, they're not going to help you. It's so silly. It's passions wanting Kay to be able to get where she needs to go.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Give me
I also don't get the whole thing about how is Zombie Charity in all these places at once, on the radio, at the hotel, impersonating this cop. Has she done that kind of stuff before? I don't remember her doing anything like that before. We haven't
seen her do this before, but she does have Tabitha's powers, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know.
What are the rules? There are no rules.
There are no rules. What are the rules? There are none. So she finds the keys immediately and gets back on her way to the hotel. She makes her way to the hotel. The person at the front desk apparently tells her exactly what room they're in. So she knew I think they were in 720 or something like that. Or like 320. No, 220. It was 220. But when she gets to the hotel, she keeps passing 215. Like she can't get past 215. And then she realizes she's in like some kind of weird shadow realm. And she just like makes her way out of the shadow realm. Like she just like, it's like, I guess if I just put my arm through here. And so like a little portal kind of opens and she moves through and she's back in the regular world. And she finds 220, right? But before Kay shows up, Zombie Charity is trying her damnedest to get it on with Miguel. She wants his D in her P expeditiously, right? Mm-hmm. And he just will not do it. He just will not do it. They stop and start multiple times. At one point, he says to her, "Wait, I really want this to be special. Like, we have all night. And I want to write a poem for you." And she's like, "A poem?"
Oh, God.
She's
like, "What?"
Yeah. She's like, "What?" And he goes away and comes back with this quote poem. He's like,
"The stupidest poem ever.
Perfect for my lady love." And this poem is, quote, "The sun, the moon, the stars above, none shine as bright as you, Charity, my love. Roses are red, violets are blue. I love you, and you love me." Like, it's so bad.
I'm really glad you wrote that down because I heard the poem and I hated it so much. I'm not even going to bother to write this shit down. This is so dumb.
I had to write it down. I was like, I'm going to talk shit about this poem. I have to get it down. And like, had it been longer, I probably would have just taken like one or two parts of it. But it was terrible, but it was short. The sun, the moon, the stars above. Like, okay, all right. Don't quit your day job, buddy.
Please.
You will not be gaining any laureate status at any time soon. So she's like, "Oh, that was great. Now have sex with me." Now. And so they start getting it on again a little bit, but Kay arrives and starts just banging on the door, banging. And then she finally is like, "Miguel, open up. I need to talk to you." He goes to the door, opens it up. She tells him, "Your sister has confessed to murdering Julian. You need to be with your family." And he's like, "Oh my God, thank you for telling me." Like, he's happy that she came and interrupted because he didn't want to do this. It seemed like he was doing it because he thought that he was supposed to be doing it, but it was clear that he didn't really want to do it. It took him too long. Mm-hmm. And like you said, and like I've said, I think on some level he knows it's not charity. Mm-hmm. I think on some level he knows it's not charity. So he dashes off. Zombie Charity tells Kay, "You've won this time, but you've only put off the inevitable. I will be having my hot night of sex with Miguel very soon, and he will die." So that's that on the lovemaking front for them that night. So now we need to talk about Tabitha and Timmy and what's going on with Timmy. Timmy's off on his little Tim ventures, which I'm loving. Tabitha is very worried about Timmy right now because she cannot get in touch with him. I think his cell phone died. The battery on his phone died. So she can't get in touch with him, and she's trying to figure out, how can I find out if Timmy's okay? She says, oh, Eureka, I've got it. And she finds a chest, it looks like a treasure chest kind of thing. She finds a chest, and she says she hasn't opened it since 1748. And she opens it up, a lot of smoke comes out, and then this floating head comes out that looks like, has on like a powdered wig, one of those white powder wigs, although it didn't even look like a good one. It looked like a Party City one. Like, it was very much like Halloween costume. It was very much like Hamilton Halloween costume, you know? I'm not throwing away my shot. That's what it was given that very much. And so she talks to this talking head and consults with him, and apparently he can see into the future. They don't explain what or who he is. Did they explain what or who he was? I didn't see that. I didn't hear it.
I don't think so. I just called him talking head or head. I don't know.
That's what I was calling him. I called him floating head, but yeah, it's like they didn't explain who or what he was at all.
He obviously knew Tabitha because I think he said something. I don't see it in my notes right now, but it feels like he said something like, oh, Tabitha, it's been a long time. Good to see you.
Basically, yeah. He's like, you must be in a lot of trouble if you opened up my box, right?
Yeah.
And, she's like, yes, I really need you to look into something for me. I need you to check on Timmy. He's like, Timmy? Who's Timmy? And she's like, Timmy, my doll. Well, he was a doll and now he's a human. And he's like, oh, okay. The talking head, the floating head, basically tells her that Timmy is not in danger from the zombie. The zombie is not going to be the one who tries to kill Timmy tonight, but somebody from his past has a sharp blade and is going to try to kill him. That's what the head tells her. So meanwhile, little Tim is off on his little Tim venture, right? And he happens upon a diner, him and Toto. And they go inside to get some food. Timmy says he doesn't have much money, so he's just going to order some soup and crackers. But a very nice waitress chats him up, he looks like a child. That's a question somebody should ask. Like, are you a grown-up? Because, you know what I mean? Like,
how old are you?
How old are you? Is there somebody we need to be calling for you? He seems like a child off on his own, just in the world, and nobody is stopping to consider maybe they should call the authorities to like find out where he should be. Yeah. And find out if he's okay. But anyway, this nice waitress says, when he says he'll just get the soup because he's, low on money, she says, well, how about this? I'll get you 2 burgers on the house. So she's going to give them burgers, which is very sweet and nice. Meanwhile, there's a cook in the back who is yelling, screaming, going ballistic. And Timmy's like, well, who's that? What's going on? And the waitress tells him, oh, that's Peggy. That there is Peggy, and she's really crazy, right? Like she's a Southern diner lady, whatever.
Also, where is this supposed to be? What part of the country are they in?
Yes, that's such a good question. I have no clue where they're supposed to be, because I remember something happening, and I was like, wait, why would these people know about Harmony? The newspaper. There was something with a newspaper. Whatever. It
feels like they're in a diner in I don't know, in rural Kansas or something.
Yeah. What makes
back in the 1950s, Patsy Cline's Crazy is playing in the background, which is very fitting once you start to meet Peggy.
Yeah. Exactly. Kansas. Actually, you're right. Kansas would be very fitting since they're doing like a
no place
Wizard
like
of
home.
Oz. Yeah, Wizard of Oz thing. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. So yeah, Peggy's chatting Timmy up, offers him burgers, explains to him about crazy Peggy in the back and how she's a new line cook, and that she is just like crazy and angry all the time. Timmy says, well, why doesn't the owner just fire her? And she's like, are you kidding? The owner is terrified of her. And then a busboy comes out. He's like, that's it. I quit. He gives up. He quits. He turns out to be the owner's son. And I guess that matters because, I don't know, because the owner's scared of Peggy. So he'd rather lose his son working than Peggy. So we see Peggy in the diner, and it's the cook, and it's somebody in disguise, but it looks like Norma. This looks like it's the actress who plays Norma, but she's in like disguise makeup, prosthetics, right? And Timmy goes back there because he decides he wants to get a job as a busboy here. I don't know what possessed him. Timmy was like, well, Timmy's a people person. I think I could talk. I dealt with Hecuba and Zombie Charity. I could probably deal with Peggy. Which, you know what? It sound enough logic, but why would you even put yourself in this position? Right? But it is sound enough logic. He's like, hell, I've literally been to hell and back. I've dealt with literal demons. I think I can handle this like ornery line cook. So he goes to the back to talk to Peggy because he has now been hired as a busboy by do you know what her name was? Flo? What was her name?
Flo. Mm-hmm.
Was her name Flo for real?
It was, yeah.
That was just a stereotypical like name I came up with. So
yeah, that's what I wrote down, and then I remember checking it somewhere. I heard him call her Flo at one point, or Peggy called her Flo. I don't remember, but yeah, it tracks. It
tracks. Yeah, so he goes back there to talk to Peggy now that Flo has hired him as a busboy. He doesn't recognize her, but she recognizes him. It's like Timmy, and calls him by name, which Timmy notes. He's like, how did you know Timmy's name? Right? Like later on he realizes that they have a little conversation. And she picks up like a giant hatchet and is like, you're gonna die. Timmy has to die. Timmy's confused. He's like, what did Timmy do? And then Flo, the waitress, comes in and basically saves Timmy, right? So Timmy, after he tries to talk to Peggy one time, he goes back out. He's like talking with Flo, and then he tries again to talk to Peggy, right, about this busboy position. Peggy has since pulled out this like stack of newspapers, and one of the newspapers, it was Tabitha and Timmy on the front page of the newspaper, and it said the front page, and the headline was Tabitha Lennox's great grandnephew comes to town. What? And where is that news? Where would that be news? Why would that ever be? And why would it be front page news of anybody's newspaper? Even the Harmony Herald. So I don't know why they were in the newspaper. Anyway, she rips up their picture from the newspaper, and so we know she has some kind of like issue with them. It's obviously Norma. However, Karen told me something earlier. We're not going to fully spoil it, but Karen was like, no, they're leading us to believe it's Norma, but it's not, apparently. So we're not going to fully spoil it. Karen told me who it is, and I was like, oh, that's hilarious. And I'm sure plenty of you already know who it is, but we'll wait till the reveal actually happens on the show. But if you want a spoiler,
message me on the Discord.
Yeah, join the Discord and message her for the spoilers. But they're leading us to believe it's Norma. I mean, she's got the hatchet, right? She's doing the whole thing. But I will say she didn't mention like father, daddy, not once, which is outside of the realm of the character of Norma. Like she always would at least once like talk to her dad, her father, whoever, you know. So we didn't see that. So it does, once you did tell me that, I was like, oh, okay, I can see that it's somebody else in a much better, like that's, if it's not Norma, the person who you said it is, that's such a good disguise. Like
it's a very good disguise.
It's an incredible disguise. So sorry. This Peggy, the cook, who we think is Norma, decides to drug Timmy, right? So she poisons some hot chocolate, and when he comes back into the kitchen to like try and smooth things over with her, she's nice to him this time. She's like, oh, take a load off. How about you have some hot chocolate? I'm sorry. I've just been a little upset lately. I've been a little high strung, but it has nothing to do with you. Drink up, little Tim. Drink up. They go back and forth for a little while where Timmy's like, you sure you don't know Timmy? You sure we've never met? Because you kind of look familiar. And I remember you called me Timmy when I came in the kitchen, but I didn't tell you my name. And she's like, no, we've never met, and you must be misremembering. I must have overheard you and Flo talking. Like, it's not as deep as you think it is, right? And so he does finally drink some of the hot chocolate and passes out immediately. And then she just throws a coat over him. Now, I thought, this is where things got very confusing for me. I thought she was about to kidnap Timmy. Actually, I thought the poison was just going to kill him, right? Like, that was, like, meant to kill him. But then once she said, like, oh, he'll be knocked out for a while, and she, like, raised her knife like she was going to kill him. But then she was like, well, we got to get out of here. I was very confused about what it was Peggy wanted to do with Timmy. Like, do you want to kill Timmy? Do you want to take Timmy to a second location and kill Timmy? What is it? It was unclear. It wasn't made clear. Did you understand it? And was it clear to you?
Not really. I guess I thought Peggy was planning to put Timmy out and chop him up and serve him in burgers or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that seems as plausible as anything else. It didn't make they weren't clear about what Peggy's intentions were. And I think maybe Peggy didn't know what Peggy wanted to do, which is why we were confused about what Peggy wanted to do. Because the next morning, Timmy wakes up sitting at that table where he was drugged.
Doesn't Toto wake him up? Doesn't Toto start barking? Or maybe that was at a different point.
Yeah, no, Toto does start barking. So maybe that's what stopped Peggy, was that Toto was barking at her. I don't know.
Maybe.
And she draws the line. She can kill kids, but she draws the line at dogs. And so, which, you know, you should draw the line at both, obviously, but I'm just saying. So that lady Flo shows up again and is like, oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I was doing better at this storyline. This was very confusing for me.
Oh, okay. So I have a note that said Peggy is standing there swinging her big chopping blade at Timmy. And then I guess Timmy was... Oh, maybe that's when Toto was barking, because Flo rushes in to help. And then... No, that was earlier because Timmy's still away. I don't know. I'm confused too.
No, exactly. It happens twice. Flo comes and saves Timmy like a few times. So it was, and it was confusing. I wasn't clear on what it was that Peggy wanted specifically. And whatever. Just shenanigans, y'all. Passion shenanigans. That's what happened. Back and forth. Peggy wielding this giant knife like she's gonna kill Timmy, but she never does. Flo coming back and forth, kind of stopping her. She threatens to call the police, and she's like, no police. So whatever. While all of this is going on, because that's basically where we leave it with Timmy. So let's talk about what's going on with Tabitha. So while all of this is going on, the next morning, a very angry zombie Charity shows up and comes to Tabitha's attic, or maybe it was the same night. Maybe it was the.
I think they have conversations both times.
Okay, thank you. So that night of Charity's party, after she gets thwarted by Kay, she comes over to Tabitha's attic, and Tabitha is very shocked to see her in zombie form. And then she changes back into Charity form and then back into demon form, and she can't control like the transformations because of the juniper shade berries. So it's like, girl, you were trying to have sex with Miguel, but there was a good chance she was just going to turn back into a demon while they were having sex, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe Kay saved you. Maybe Kay helped you out a little bit because you can't control your transformations back and forth into demon mode. So she's really upset that she can't control this, and because she missed out on having sex with Miguel. And then she just recaps the events of the night to Tabitha, and then she sees the floating head, and she thinks that Tabitha brought out the floating head specifically to find a way to kill her, to kill Zombie Charity. And she just immediately starts trying to zap Tabitha with like her red lightning. And at this point, Reese is downstairs, and he looks up into the window of Tabitha's house, and he can see the lights, like the lightning going off in there. And he's like, oh my God, I knew it. Tabitha's a witch. I got to get up there to see what's going on. And then Jessica tells Reese once again, he tells Jessica, like, you see, there's like lights up there. She's a witch, Jessica tells him again, like, please just forget about Tabitha. She's just a harmless old lady. But he does not forget about Tabitha. He climbs up in her tree to stalk this old lady because he also is terrible. But Tabitha, meanwhile, has decided and explained to the zombie who's like trying to zap her. She's like, I wasn't trying to kill you. I was trying to find Timmy. And the floating head corroborates this. It's like, yeah, she only got me out to try and find her friend Timmy, who actually is about to die by somebody else's hand tonight. So of course, Zombie Charity's like, oh, great. That takes one thing off my plate that I don't have to do. I don't have to kill Timmy because somebody else is going to kill Timmy. So now she's happy. And Tabitha, we see her go behind like a little divider, and she starts changing clothes. And she changes into like this black stereotypical witch's outfit, which was great. I love to see her in just like her black witch's outfit, the pointy black hat, the whole, like her whole alphabet thing, right? The whole thing. And she says she thinks she can conjure up enough power to try and cast a spell to protect Timmy. So she starts casting spells. I only got one, but she said several. But this is the first one, the one I heard. Eye of Newt, cauldrons aflame, shelter the lad called Timmy by name. I liked it. It was better than Miguel's stupid fucking poem.
A lot better.
So, at this point, that's when Reese climbs up into the tree, and he's watching all of this happening in the attic, and he's like in disbelief. He sees Zombie Charity in demon form, and he thinks that Tabitha cast a spell on her to turn her into a demon. And he's going to go and tell somebody, but he falls out of the tree and like bumps his head. So he's like knocked out there all night long. And then the next morning, Kay is at her house where her Miguel is sleeping on the couch. She has a little daydream. I thought it was real at first, but she has a little daydream about her telling Miguel, like, Charity's not who you think she is. And then Charity comes in, and they can see her demon hand, and it's revealed that Charity's a demon. And for a moment, I was like, huh, is this happening? But no, it was just a daydream. And then Miguel and Kay have a conversation where they talk about Theresa, and he's like, yeah, I gotta go be with my family. And so she of course is following him because she follows him everywhere. I will follow him wherever he may go, because she follows him everywhere. And they find Reese who's been outside all night, and he's on the ground, he's like moaning, and they wake him up, get him up, and he explains that he saw Tabitha turn Charity into a demon, and she's a demon up in the attic, and he insists that they come with him to Tabitha's house. Kay is like, this could be good for me, right? Like, maybe I don't have to tell Miguel that Charity's a demon. Maybe he'll just discover it. Maybe because Reese is right, and she knows Reese is right. Reese is kind of right. Tabitha didn't turn her into a demon, but she is a demon, right? So Kay is hoping that this will all work out in her favor. So she goes along with it. And so they go over to Tabitha's house, knock on the door. Tabitha sends Zombie Charity like to hide in the attic. Well, Reese comes in making all his wild accusations. You're a witch, Tabitha. We know you're a witch. I saw it. I was peeping in your window last night. Tabitha says to him, drugs. You're obviously under the influence of drugs. And it was great. Oh, hey, Mouse. Everybody, Mouse is making an appearance, which is Karen's cat. A cat named Mouse. I love.
Back again.
Back again. She heard me talking about Tabitha. And Tabitha and her cats. We know it's spooky season.
Yep.
So yeah, she says, Tabitha's like, drugs. You're obviously under the influence of drugs. And she tries to get them to leave, but Reese rushes past her and just runs up the stairs searching for Charity. Tabitha threatens to call the police. Reese doesn't care. He keeps pushing past her. He goes up into the attic and he's like, see? And that's where we end it this week. We don't see anything. We don't know what happened. I'm certain Reese is going to be thwarted like he always is. So that is the end of that for this week. Do you have anything to add?
I thought it was funny when Tabitha was talking to the floating head. She was trying to get help from him to figure out, okay, what's going on with Timmy and where is Timmy? And he couldn't help her. And I just wrote something down like, this is like Father Lonigan and the angel. They're no help whatsoever.
No help whatsoever.
They'll come to give you vague warnings, but if you need any information about specifics, forget it.
Yeah, forget it. And to be fair to the floating head, Tabitha summoned him. That angel just be appearing. That angel just shows up specifically to tell you she can't help you.
Right.
She's very irritating in that way. So with that said, we're ready to move on to Diana and Brian and what's going on with them. So let's see. What's the sound for Diana and Brian?
I was hoping you just forgot about this part and we could say, you are my passion for life. Bye.
Nope, it's not over yet, y'all. We're not
Not
done
over
yet.
till it's over.
There's not a whole lot here. The main thing this week is that both Sheridan and Luis have had sex with somebody else. Like that's that is like the biggest, most important portion of this story, in my opinion. But we're gonna still talk about it. Stupid ass Diana is trying to salvage what's left of Brian's birthday. She's written her little kindergarten sign, "Happy birthday, Brian," and put it up in the room and lit candles everywhere. And when he comes to the room, and she like left the door unlocked while she went to take a shower, which we talked about last week, but it bears repeating that she specifically unlocked the door while she went to take a shower just in case he came back. It's like, that's just a murder waiting to happen. But fine. So he comes in, he startles her. She's like, "You scared me." He's like, "Well, you left the door open, dummy." You left the door open. Being startled is like, you're lucky that that's all that happened, is that you got startled and not murdered in your hotel room on this random island where nobody knows you. They would absolutely get away with it. Just, whatever. She doesn't think so good. So anyway, she starts kissing him, telling him, "I want to make a life with you. I want to move on and make a new life with you, even though I don't remember anything about my old life besides my dead lover, but I'm choosing you." And then she asks him to make love to her. "Make love to me, Brian." Make love to me, Brian. I was disgusted. So
the show tries to make it super romantic. Like you said, they have all these candles lit, and the candles actually reminded me of, I don't remember the storyline, but there was a time when Sheridan and Luis were having sex, and they had all these candles lit in her bedroom. And then they ran off to do something else because there was some emergency, and they just leave the candle. That reminded me of that situation and made me laugh.
They just leave the candles. So many candles. So many candles in their room and in the room where Miguel and Charity were. Like, so much fire. And you would think that Miguel and Charity would be a little more sensitive about the fire, considering the last time they tried to have sex, they were caught in an inferno, right? So, yeah, so many candles. So
I got so distracted. I started Googling the song that was playing when they were having sex. I'm like, I've got to have something to distract myself. So
I fast forwarded.
The artist is called Fisher, and the song is I Will Love You, if anyone is curious.
If anybody's curious, I didn't listen to a second of that song. I fast forwarded. I knew there was no plot happening. They weren't talking. They were just having sex. And I said, I will pass. And I fast forwarded. I skipped ahead. I did not see any of it. I didn't hear the song. But I'm sure it was lovely. I'm sure it was lovely. I love that you were like, I had to do something to pass the time. I looked up what the song was.
It had a little salmon ivy nugget in it because there's a lyric in the song that talks about forever and a day. So that made me happy.
Oh, well, that's nice. Like a little Easter egg. Yeah. Well, after they have sex, they have a little pillow talk. They recap. They talk about their past lives. I don't know. I just think that button is perfect for them.
It is.
And then they go for a midnight swim. They go out to the beach. They go out for a midnight swim. Meanwhile, the nefarious Nick is watching them from the shadows the entire time. He keeps having conversations with his other goon, Stan, on the phone, just making threats about how he's going to make Brian pay one way or the other, right? And then later, Brian goes to like get some lemonade for them, and he sees Nick at the hotel, and he immediately grabs him and like yanks him up. Like, what the hell are you doing here? I told you to leave me alone. And Nick tells him, I'm not here. Whoa, buddy. This is a coincidence. Like, who would be so stupid to believe this is a coincidence? Couldn't possibly be a coincidence. Yeah. He's like, this is a coincidence. I didn't even know you were on this island. I'm here to collect on the debt from somebody who owes me a bunch of money. The person he's talking about is Diana, right? Because she racked up a bunch of gambling debt and then just left. She racked up a bunch of gambling debt at a backroom casino and then just absconded. And but Nick does not tell Brian that because, of course, Diana is his bargaining chip to... I don't know what he really wants from Brian. I'm not entirely sure what he wants from Brian. He keeps saying, like, you owe me money. But it seems like he wants something else from Brian. So I'm not entirely sure. So anyway, Brian is like, well, whoever it is, they're in big trouble. I'm sure you scammed them out of that money. I'm sure you whatever you did was a scam. And he's like, no, they just lost a lot of money in one of my card games, and now I'm here to collect. And if they don't pay me, I'm gonna have to force the issue, is what he says. And he pulls out a gun and he just like holds it there, and he's like, yeah, if they don't pay me, I'm gonna have to force this. She's just like waving this gun around. Brian's just like, better them than me, basically. He's like, well, at least you're not here for me, kind of thing. Yeah. And he leaves it at that, which, I mean, what do? You don't keep talking to a man who's just waving a gun around. You try to get out of there as fast as possible. So I can give Brian credit for that. So the next day, Brian has a conversation with Liz, and he brings her up to speed on all of the events of the night before, all of the events, specifically the part where he and Diana had sex, I guess to just pour more salt in that wound. I don't know why he needed to tell her that, but whatever. Then Liz, he also tells her about Nick being on the island. Liz doesn't know who Nick is, even though she was the one who checked him in, but she hasn't made the connection that the guy she checked in last night is the same guy who's after Brian. And so she tells him, like, what if he's dangerous? Maybe I don't want him to hurt you. Brian starts talking about Diana again and like how they had past lives together, and like blah, blah, blah. Who cares? He keeps talking about, he's telling Liz, like, yeah, me and Diana, we were together on the Titanic, and it's so amazing that we had kids together. Oh, my God. Stop telling Liz this. Leave Liz alone. Justice for Liz at this point. Leave Liz alone. I cannot stand this. Like, that's such a stab in the heart. I would never, ever tell somebody I used to be in a relationship. I would never have conversations with them. Just out of respect for them. Even if things had ended kind of badly. I would never be like, yeah, I'm so in love with the man I'm with now. He's so great. We used to actually have past lives, especially if you know that person still has feelings for you.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, didn't Luis, when he was on the island, didn't he talk to Liz and mention that his dead fiance and he had a past life on the Titanic?
Yes, he did.
And is this the first time Brian is talking to Liz about that? Wouldn't that clue you in a little bit? Again, that, hey, maybe that guy I saw months ago was actually the person Diana used to love.
Yes, you are absolutely right, Karen. And I'm going to say what I think has happened here, which is the Passions writers forgot about that conversation. Because frankly, I had forgotten about that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I kudos to you for remembering that. Because once you brought it up, I was like, yeah. He did, because that was like her whole thing of like why she felt like they should meet each other, because they were having the same kind of like dreams and had the same like weird story that connected. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. But nope, the Passions writers forgot about that.
Maybe at this point she doesn't care and she thinks, well, I've lost him, so what does it matter?
Yeah, she definitely doesn't care. Poor Liz. I feel bad. I feel really bad for Liz at this point. I know later she gets on my nerves. Though I've said this before. In my first watch, I did not like Liz, but also in my first watch, I liked Eve a lot more than I like her now. So I do wonder if I will have far more sympathy for Liz this time around. I don't know yet, because I know she does some fucked up shit, but I'm interested to see how I feel about Liz in my adulthood. I really am, because I hated her. I hated her in my first viewing when I was a kid. But I liked Eve. So, and I don't like Eve now. I don't like Eve. Don't. So anyway, poor Liz. Brian's just talking at her about how much he is in love with Diana. Boo. That's the button I need. I need to get a boo button. So meanwhile, Diana is working the finally back at work, doing a job more than I could say about Brian, honestly.
She's ready. She gets out of bed. She's like, oh, I can't be late. I need to go down and work the breakfast shift. And I think he tries to stall her, if I'm remembering right.
Liz can wait.
She goes.
He's like, Liz can wait. I was like, oh, he is so disrespectful. He has no respect for Liz. She should evict him.
Yeah.
Immediately she should evict him. And he bringing all kinds of trouble to her island with this man with a gun and demanding that she come and pick him up on her airplane in the middle of the night. He's doing too much. She needs to evict him and get rid of him. She needs to cut him out of her life. He's a cancer. She needs to cut him right out like a tumor.
We need to get a Patreon who's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, because I want to analyze his personality. I can't think of a specific name for it, but he's like the human humble brag. Especially later on, it's like, oh, I'm just trying to make everyone else happy, and I'm so noble. I'm so I'm doing this good thing because I'm really a good guy, but don't bring it up. I just do what anybody else would do. Don't bring it up. I'm just doing anything anybody else would do. Yeah, right.
the human humble brag. I think that was like a perfect descriptor for him. No, truly.
Thank you for putting it into work, because I had the human humble brag in my head, but I couldn't explain it. But you did so well on that.
That's
you.
why we do this together, right?
Exactly.
Each one teach one. That's why we do this together.
Yes.
So yeah, Diana's doing her shit. She's a shift. She's on her morning shift, the breakfast shift. She serves nefarious Nick at the restaurant. And he looks at her, he's like, "You look so familiar.
Oh, here we go.
I could swear I know you from somewhere."
Yeah.
And of course, this excites Diana. I was not mad at her for being excited about this, because she's been desperate to meet someone who knows her, right? I actually kind of hated that Passions even did this to her, but he's a villain, so sure. She gets so excited. He's like, "Yeah, I really can't place you, but I know I've seen for some reason Europe comes to mind. Were you ever in France or Spain? You seem so familiar. You seem like a lady who," he says something about her being like high class or whatever. So my question about this is, well, I shouldn't ask this question because it's stupid. I'm sure Passions didn't do this, but does he realize that she's Sheridan Crane? Like, because he's talking about how she seemed like a lady of high class. He saw her in Europe wearing diamonds and gowns, and like she did live in France, and like she was the American princess. They have said that they had set that up. It's been a long time since they talked about it, but it's something that was so well documented in this show about how famous the Cranes are worldwide, and specifically her, because she was Princess Diana's best friend and they were calling her the American princess, that it would make sense that somebody might see her and be like, "Girl, aren't you Sheridan Crane?" You know what I mean? So it makes me wonder if he actually has an idea of who she actually is.
Yeah.
But they don't say that explicitly. And also, how did he already know she had amnesia? Like, did Brian tell him that? Or did he just...
She tells him that early on, because he starts saying stuff like, "You look so familiar. I feel like I know you from somewhere. Do you recognize me?" And then that's when she explains, "I don't know. I have amnesia, so I don't remember." That lovely line, "I don't know anything. I have amnesia." And she tells him she doesn't remember her past and up until a few months ago.
Okay, so maybe he just decides to really lean into that, maybe, is what I'm gleaning from it. So she gets really excited. She's like, "I have to tell Brian. Somebody might know me." So she runs off to get Brian. She's so excited. There's a man in the restaurant. He says he thinks I look familiar. He thinks he knows where he's seen me before. You have to come and meet him. She pulls him into the restaurant. He sees Nick, immediately turns around, does a 180, grabs Diana, pulls her back, tells her, "Under no circumstances should you be talking to that man. That man is bad news." She's so confused. She's like, what's going on? He said he knew me. He's like, I guarantee you he does not. Right? And that's where we ended on the island, right? Yeah, that's really where we ended on the island. So now we have to come back to Harmony and talk about Beth and Luis and what's going on with the two of them. So we already talked about them at the book cafe when Pilar was there and they were talking about the tea leaves, and Beth says, "Remember how all Tabitha's readings always come true, Luis, yada, yada, yada." Pilar leaves the book cafe. So let's talk about what happens after she leaves. Luis and Beth have a little chat, have a little talk about Theresa, about all the things that are going on, right? Just, recap stuff. And then Beth invites Luis to spend the night at her place because it's gotten late. And he's been staying at Hank's place. Which, where the fuck does Hank live? Because I was under the impression that Hank was staying at the B&B. So I guess Hank now has his own place in Harmony. Fine. Fine by me. He's moved here now and he has his own place. So it's gotten late. He doesn't want to disturb Hank at Hank's place. And so Beth invites him to come and stay at her place. And he's like, "But you only have one bedroom." And she's like, "I know." Of course, I felt like after Bermuda, we got really close. And I think since our trip got really cut really short, like, wouldn't we have made love in Bermuda? I think she says that to him. Wouldn't we have made love in Bermuda? And he's like, absolutely we would have. So she's like, so let's just do it here. And so they head back to her place, which again, he says she's only got one bedroom in her house, but they go there and it's a pretty big house.
Yeah, I caught that too. And Edna lives there. We haven't met Edna yet, right? Beth's mother, but Edna lives there too. There's got to be 2 bedrooms, one for Edna, one for Beth. Whatever passions. Yeah, Edna's there. We don't see her, but they talk about her. She's like, yeah, I made sure mother's down. She's asleep. Blah blah blah. Right? Yeah, I'm sure she made sure Edna was down.
I bet she. And listen, Edna might.
Sorry, Fantasia.
Maybe there's not a bedroom for Edna. Maybe she has Edna in a kennel.
Edna's in the basement.
In a kennel or something. Like, we know how Beth is. Yeah. So, which I thought, I guess she couldn't afford to keep her in the home anymore. I think that was a plot point that was they quickly talked about like many episodes ago, because she used to live in a home, I believe. She had her mother off somewhere.
Yeah. At one point, Edna's afraid of going to the nursing home. The nursing home is called Sweet Serenity. I remember her saying stuff about Sweet Serenity. You don't want to go back there. Like, it's terrible. Yeah. It's more terrible than living with Beth.
It must be.
Yeah.
It must be. So yeah, she was at one point at a home, and now I think Beth had like money troubles and had to bring her to live with her.
Then again, Beth hasn't done much yet. That comes later. We're talking off of the stuff we're remembering.
Yet, but y'all, it is coming, and it's coming so soon. Yeah, it's actually coming up. Basically, once, because Sheridan's very close to getting her memory back. We're getting there. It happens in like, I want to say, I think it happens over the summer. I think she gets her memory back in like July, August. So we're close. We're in May, so we're close. And I do distinctly remember that once Sheridan gets her memory back was when Beth like goes off the deep end. Like, I distinctly remember her basically setting Sheridan's house on fire with Sheridan and Luis inside. Like, I feel like I remember that
happened. Yeah. Yes, that absolutely happened.
And her being like, if I can't have him, nobody can.
Yeah.
She's crazy as hell. And it's showing. We're seeing it here. So let's talk about it. Okay. So she invites him back to her house. She gets him there. She immediately starts pouring him wine, getting him loosened up. Oh, let me rub your neck, Luis. I know every inch of your body. Like,
I know your body so well.
I didn't like it, but I'm sure other people love it. Yeah, she's like pouring him some wine, massaging his neck. They're sitting on the floor for some reason, like right in front of the couch. There's a sofa behind them, but they're sitting on the floor. Whatever. It was just a little thing that I'm taking issue with because I'm a curmudgeon. So then they recap, like so much Fraggle Rock and recap. And I don't know why I keep doing there are some times when I'm like, Tara, you've been cussing too much. There are sometimes like I'll be like, man, I've been cussing too much. I need to like dial it back. And then I'll start like adding, like I'll say Fraggle Rock instead of fuck a lot. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me, a little aside. So if just in case anybody was like, why is LaTara talking like this? It's just because recently I was like, I think I was like listening to an episode and I was like, Jesus Christ. That's so many curse words. It's like your mom listens to this sometimes. Never. She never listens to this.
Sometimes never.
Never. She has never listened past. I don't think my mom's ever listened past the first like 5 minutes of the first episode. So
that sounds like my mom. She loves me. She'd want to do it for me, but she'd get bored and squirrel.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go do the dishes and whatever.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons I also feel so freely, like I can talk kind of freely on this show, because I know my mom's not listening to this. My dad, he does tap in from time to time, but he would never get this far into an episode. He would never make it this far. So, I just like, I do cuss a lot, but I want to try and do a little bit better about it. So, Fraggle Rock. Moving on. These two, they are on the floor. She's gotten him sufficiently loosened up. They're recapping. And she basically tells him, you don't have to carry the weight of like everything that's going on with your family alone. I'm here now. I'll always be here for you. And then they start doing the love making, right? They start getting down to business. They start getting down to business. It really wasn't that bad. Like the Brian and Diana stuff is way worse. This was not great. But I did like how Beth was like really aggressive with it. I was like, okay, girl, get yours. She was like, it is time. Lay down.
She's been waiting years, decades. It's time.
Get on the bed. Like he pushes him down and starts like going in, right? And so they make love, and then Luis falls asleep, and then Luis starts mumbling Sheridan's name. Oh my God.
Dude, what are you doing?
I felt so bad for Beth in this moment. I really did.
Me too.
Because it just deflated her. She had just finally conquered Mount Luis.
Yeah.
And then he's saying some other woman's name. And on the one hand, I feel bad for her. On the other hand, I have said multiple times that Luis is obviously not ready to be in a relationship with anybody else yet. Like, he clearly has not moved on. And Beth wants him so bad that she's willing to basically debase herself and put herself in this type of situation. So like she really set herself up for this disappointment, but it's still hurtful. And I can recognize that and understand that. So, what's happening with Luis, though, is that he's having a dream about Sheridan. And in this dream, Sheridan is in like this white nightgown, and she keeps walking past him and like waving goodbye. And he like is like, Sheridan, it's me, Sheridan. Where are you going, Sheridan? And she just keeps walking off into the mist, and then she'll walk back out, and he'll be like, Sheridan. And then she'll walk away, and she'll walk back out, Sheridan. Like, it was like that. And so that's why he was saying Sheridan in his sleep. And then while he's like having this dream, this is when Beth starts showing like her crazy. And I didn't write it all down, but she was just like, Luis, I'm going to make you forget all about Sheridan. One day you'll never think of her again. One day I'll be the only thing that occupies your thoughts. You'll never think about Sheridan again because Sheridan is dead. She's not coming back. Thank God she's not coming back. I have you now. Yikes. Yeah, yikes. Yeah, yikes. So she lays back down, pretends like she's asleep. He wakes up, goes to the window, longingly looking out into the night, wondering if Sheridan might still be alive. Later on, Hank comes over looking for Luis, and Beth tells him, yeah, Luis is here. He's still upstairs asleep. Hank came over to show Luis like all of the papers with Theresa's name all over them, right? And so they have a conversation. They have the same conversation they've been having. Like, Hank's like, good girl, Beth, good girl. You need to be getting with Luis. I'm glad y'all are together. You belong together, and you need to help him get over Sheridan. And she's like, yeah, I'm trying. I'm going to make him get over Sheridan. I know he still thinks about her, but she's dead and I'm not. 1 point me, 0 for Sheridan, right? And so Luis then comes downstairs. He sees the headlines on the paper, even though they try to hide it from him. But of course he's gonna see it, so I don't know why they're trying to hide it from him. And then he has like later on he has like a little conversation with Hank where he starts saying like, I don't know, I was having these dreams and it made me think maybe Sheridan might still be alive, but ultimately he talks himself out of it, right? And Hank is of course against any kind of talk of Sheridan, so it was very easy for Hank to be like, yeah, no, that can't be real. You have a great girl with Beth and you need to be making a life with Beth. And yeah, that's the end. You got anything to add?
Yeah, when Hank came over, I kept thinking about the episode where you guys were talking about Hank secretly being gay and loving Luis. So I wrote Hank explains he is there because he's concerned about Luis. Parentheses gay ? Close parentheses.
Because wait a minute, because his man did not come home last night. He said, "Where is my man? Didn't come home last night." Do you know where he is? Could you tell me where my man slept last night? Beth with her bed head is like, well, he's upstairs. He was with me all night, right? Like, these two rivals, neither of which he loves.
Where's my special friend?
It's like, my God, my man didn't come home last night. I'm just looking for my man.
Yeah. So torn up about it.
He was like, I'm just worried about him. So that's it, y'all. That's the end of the show. We did it again. Thank you, Karen, for being here. Would you like people to follow you anywhere?
Sure. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm Karen, 4 and America, or I'm on the Discord. Just look me up. I'm Karen. Very simple. I'm thinking of changing my to Karen Winthrop Bennett.
Okay.
Just to follow along with all these people like Taylor Harris Crane and Greg Lopez Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
I like how they're
taking
the names of the characters.
Yeah, they started a trend. I love that. All right, I support it fully.
Okay.
So, well, and you know where you can find me. Come join the Patreon. If you really want to talk to me, that's the best place to find me, is on the Patreon. If y'all see the social media pages, I am struggling to keep up with with posting on the social media pages, but I am doing my best. I swear to God, I'm doing my best. But I do regularly, we have watch parties. We have at least 2 watch parties every month. So if you want to talk to me, and I'm on the Discord, I'm jumping in the conversations on the Discord. So if you specifically want to see me, talk to me, that's where you're going to find me. So join the Patreon. And with that, you are my passion for life.